Star Wars Jedi Survivor is making significant changes to the gameplay coming off of Jedi Fallen Order, and while this is of course expected from a sequel, I wanted to go over 5 of the most significant changes and why you should be excited for these gameplay changes as we go into Jedi Survivor. Now, of course, we've seen very little of Survivor's gameplay, and this does come with the sad news that the game was delayed about 6 weeks to the end of April, but that doesn't mean we're still not excited about the game and that we can't talk about the game. So of course, let's talk about 5 awesome changes coming to Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So without further ado, remember, if you do enjoy today's video, don't forget to leave it a big old like. If you enjoy content like this, you want more like it, be sure to check out that button that used to be red. It says subscribe right underneath the video. Also got to thank my channel members. You guys help make these videos possible. If you want to join, get access to the exclusive perks that they get, be sure to check out that blue join button. Anyway, let's begin. First things first is going to be combat stances. Now, of course, Jedi Fallen Order semi-toyed around with this as you get your single blade, you get your double blade, and some of the combos feature the split blades that we see later on in the game. But with Jedi Survivor, we will get actual different Jedi stances. Maybe not in the traditional format like you would think in the lore and whatnot, the different lightsaber forms that you could fight with, but Cal will be able to switch from a traditional lightsaber to be able to dual wield, as well as that Darth Maul style double blade. And there's also this heavy Kylo Ren style blade, and each one's going to feature a different way to fight. So it's sort of a similar idea to what we have in a game like Ghost of Tsushima, where you have different stances to approach different enemies. I think that's a really cool idea. I really loved the combat in that game, and I did love the combat in Fallen Order. And to me, just so far from the little snippets that we've seen, it seems like it's somewhere in between, probably still very similar to Fallen Order, just with a couple of more options and how you're going to approach different enemy types that we'll have in this game. Now, speaking of lightsabers, I do want to talk about lightsaber customization. I did really love the lightsaber customization in Jedi Fallen Order, except for one thing. Aside from a few pieces that were pre-order bonuses or had to do with characters in the game, all of the pieces in the game are from the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Disney World, Disneyland lightsaber builder pieces. I know this because I've been there and I've done that, and I have a lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge that is made up of pieces that I can also create exactly how they are in the game, and having seen the others, I can tell you for sure that these are all Galaxy's Edge lightsaber pieces. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There was some great combinations that you could put together, and a lot of times you could put together one that looked like your favorite character's lightsaber. But there was always something that wasn't quite 100% how you wanted it to be. Now, based on what we see from the pre-order bonus, we can actually see that the lightsaber sets in this game seem to be much more based off of actual lightsabers from the movies. So for example, if you pre-order the game, you can get the Obi-Wan Kenobi Attack of the Clones era lightsaber that he had in that movie, which I'm sure a lot of people will like, and it seems to coincide with, of course, around the time they announced the game, the Kenobi TV show was coming out. So, and of course, he does have one of the cooler looking Jedi lightsabers in the prequels, if I might add. And personally, I like this idea. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate a little bit more towards some of those movie looking lightsabers. I think there's another pre-order bonus that shows the Skywalker family lightsaber as being one of the options as well, and I'm sure we'll have a few more in there. I would still like the ability to mix and match certain pieces to really get the one that I like, but we haven't seen enough of it to see what exactly we're going to be able to do as far as the customization. I do think it'd be a shame if it was just simply a skin you put over the lightsaber and you were stuck with that one, because there's certain ones that, again, if you mix and match them, I think you could come up with some really cool looking ones, but we'll have to see more about what that's going to be about. However, I am happy with the change that we are getting some more familiar looking lightsabers from the movies. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the worlds and the things that we're going to be interacting with and doing in the worlds. First things first, traversal. There's a couple things I want to talk about here. Number one is, of course, new traversal mechanics. Again, we've only gotten a few snippets of this type of thing, but they look really a lot better than they were in the previous game. Not that traversal in Jedi Fallen Order is terrible, but it did get a little bit repetitive towards the end with all of the extremely convenient mudslides and the wall running and the vines that you swing across, and that's about the extent of the traversal in most of the planets, if we're being honest. There are, of course, a few unique things, such as wind on Zepho, or some of the plants that you can hop across on Kashyyyk. Of course, there's those things, but overall, you're still just kind of doing the same old platforming type of thing. There's nothing that's all that different and all that engaging in terms of traversal. This seems to be changing with Jedi Survivor, as of course, you will have a new grapple. It looks very similar to the grapple in Horizon Forbidden West. If you played that game, you kind of like shoot out and it just pulls you towards some kind of handhold, whether it's a bar you can swing off of or just a wall. It just gives you that option to jump out to an area that maybe you can't reach all the way across, and then you just latch to it and it pulls you there. I do think it would be even cooler if you could do this with the Force instead of needing an actual gadget, but you know, we'll have to see. I also want to talk about this one snippet where Cal is coming down the side of this wall, kind of rappelling with his lightsaber. Number one, that is incredibly cool. Number two, I hope it's not limited in too many places. Like, I don't want it to be super limited. I hope this is something we get to do a bunch of, and hopefully in different directions. I mean, Cal's got 2 lightsabers. How about we just, you know, use those as like ice picks and be able to climb up walls? I don't know, that might be a bit excessive. But regardless, I think that would be a really awesome traversal mechanic. It's really cool to see that. I think in Jedi Fallen Order, aside from some of the, of course, slashes you could see on the environment after a duel or something, there wasn't much as far as utilizing your lightsaber to cut through things that you could do. You could, of course, I mean, you could cut plants or little areas that you had to get through, but it was never something quite as awesome as this. This seems like such an awesome yet simple Star Wars thing to implement, and I'm really happy to see something like this. Hopefully there's more to it. Hopefully there's even more traversal options that we'll get to explore as we have a little bit more engagement with the player as we go through these different planets. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of traversal is the mounts. One thing that I always felt odd about in Fallen Order was the fact that all but 2 animals in the game were ones that we just came across and we were immediately hostile and had to kill. I mean, Cal was like Fauna serial killer basically in this game, and I get it, a lot of them were aggressive. Don't get me wrong, it's not like it was that crazy of a thing. If something's trying to attack you, you know, if you're in the woods and a bear came at you, I don't think you'd be like, oh, hey, buddy, let me just scratch your little head. No, I totally get that, but it did feel weird after a while. I'm like, this thing, it looks furry. I want to pet it. And then it's like, nope, I'm going to kill you. It is nice to see that we will have mounts and we will have things as far as the animals we encounter that we can actually utilize in a friendly manner. Considering we are a Jedi, it seems a bit more fitting than everything as a combat encounter. So I do enjoy that, and I think it'll make for much more interesting and hopefully quicker traversal. And of course, I mean, there's some combat, it looks like, on the backs of some of these mounts, so it could be really freaking awesome to get to experience. Lastly, speaking of friendlies, let's talk about companions. Companions have, of course, been popular in many games. I think the most recent game you can look at as having lots of companions is, of course, God of War Ragnarok, but that is not the first game to do it and is definitely not going to be the last game to do it. Companions have been common in games like this for a long, long time. And while we don't know the extent of how involved companions are going to be in the game, we do get to see Bode in the trailer helping Cal take out some enemies here. And I do wonder if there are going to be other companions that we can come across and have join Cal's crew, maybe some people that we haven't seen in any of the promotional material yet, you know, just kind of fingers crossed on that one. It will be interesting to see what kind of different combinations and opportunities it will help us out with. Are we going to be able to solve puzzles with them? Will it unlock new abilities where you can go back and forth? I mean, I'm just saying, Cal and Marin using magic and the Force together would probably make for some awesome gameplay material. Just, you know, fingers crossed for that. You just kind of let that thought cook in your head. Just saying, haven't seen them in the promo material. But regardless, those are 5 things that I'm extremely excited about when it comes to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and 5 awesome changes that I can't wait to sink my teeth into even more as we go along with this game. Unfortunately, we are going to have to wait 6 extra weeks from the middle of March until the end of April 28th to be exact, which honestly I wasn't too surprised by because we haven't hardly seen any gameplay of it, but it's still disappointing nonetheless. Hopefully this will give the team enough time to really polish this game out and give us the experience that we all deserve. So anyway, let me know down below your thoughts. Which changes are you most excited about with Jedi Survivor, and just what about the game in general are you excited about? Anyway, let's have a conversation down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.